G'day, it's Chef Jason here, and welcome to The Great Bite. Here we share love for all things culinary, including history, recipes, and stories. So don't forget to subscribe and join in on the adventure. Imagine stepping into one of the world's finest restaurants. White tablecloths, gleaming silverware, crystal wine glasses. A careful choreographed dance between chefs and servers. Every detail seems effortless, and every movement seems deliberate. Today we call this fine dining. But here's the question: who decided that forks belong on one side of the plate, knives on the other? Why do meals arrive one course at a time? Why do we wait for everyone to be served before eating? And when did dining become something more than simply satisfying hunger? The answer stretched back thousands of years across ancient empires, medieval castles, Renaissance palaces, and extravagant royal courts of France. Along the way, kings, queens, wealthy merchants, master chefs, and even revolutions transformed eating into an art form. This is the remarkable story of how dining became refined. Long before restaurants existed, food represented power. The rulers of ancient Egypt held elaborate banquets featuring roasted duck, beef, fish, bread, dates, figs, beer, and wine. These meals celebrated religious festivals, military victories, and political alliances. Only the wealthy experienced such abundance. For ordinary people, meals were simple and practical. In ancient Greece, dining evolved into a social event. Wealthy citizens gathered for symposia, drinking parties where the guests discussed philosophy, politics, literature, and music, while servers continuously replenished food and wine. Conversation became almost as important as the meal itself. But nowhere embraced extravagant dining quite like ancient Rome. Roman elites threw lavish banquets that could last for hours. Exotic animals, imported spices, rare seafood, and wines across the empire filled enormous tables. Wealthy Romans reclined on couches while servants brought course after course. One emperor, notorious for his excess, reportedly hosted feasts featuring flamingo tongues and peacock brains, simply because they were rare. Whether every story is true or exaggerated, Roman banquets became legendary for displaying unimaginable wealth. Yet, despite their luxury, Roman dining would seem surprisingly informal today. People commonly ate with their hands, bread served as both food and utensil. There were no elaborate place settings. Etiquette focused less on elegance than on demonstrating status through abundance. Refined? Perhaps. Modern? Not even close. After the fall of the Roman Empire, much of Europe entered the Middle Ages. Grand Roman traditions disappeared. Life became more local, and so did dining. Inside medieval castles, enormous halls filled with long wooden tables, lords, knights, servants, and guests often shared meals together, though their seating reflected social rank. Most people owned only one knife, and forks were virtually unknown. Bowls, cups, and platters were shared. Instead of porcelain plates, thick slices of stale bread called trenchers held meat and stew. After soaking up juices throughout the meal, the bread was often eaten or given to the poor. Meals could be noisy. Dogs wandered beneath the tables searching for scraps. Bones were tossed onto the floor. Servants hurried between crowded benches carrying heavy platters. It was hardly the quiet elegance we associate with fine dining today. But something important was beginning to happen. People started writing rules. By the 12th century, etiquette manuals advising diners not to wipe greasy hands on tablecloths, not to stick food in their mouths, not to reach across another person's plate, and always wash before eating. These may sound like common sense today, but at the time they represented a cultural revolution. Dining was starting to become civilized. The Renaissance wasn't only about art, it transformed food as well. Italian city states such as Florence and Venice grew incredibly wealthy through trade, and with wealth came competition. Powerful families wanted to impress guests with spectacular banquets. Beautiful table linens appeared, fine glassware became fashionable, and decorative centerpieces amazed visitors. Meals became carefully planned performances. Perhaps the most famous innovation involves something we now consider completely ordinary: the fork. Although versions had existed for centuries, Italians were among the first Europeans to embrace it as a dining utensil. Many outsiders laughed at the idea. Some even claimed using forks insulted God because human fingers were supposedly the perfect tools for eating. History would prove otherwise. One family in particular helped spread Italian elegance across Europe: the Medici. When Catherine de' Medici married into the French royal family during the 16th century, Italian influences accompanied her court. While historians debate exactly how much she personally introduced, the exchange between Italy and France accelerated the evolution of refined dining. France will soon take center stage. In the 17th century, one man transformed dining into political theatre: King Louis XIV. The Sun King ruled from the magnificent palace of Versailles. Every meal reinforced his authority. Nobles watched him dine. Ceremonies determined who stood closest to the king, who poured wine, and who served each course. Even dinner became a demonstration of power. Versailles established standards copied throughout Europe. Fine china, matching silverware, crystal glasses, multiple courses, assigned seating, elegant service. Dining became an experience rather than simply eating. For aristocrats, poor table manners could damage an entire reputation. Grace became a symbol of education. Ironically, the event that ended aristocratic privilege helped create modern restaurants. Before the French Revolution, the finest chefs worked almost exclusively for noble families. Then, everything changed. Many aristocrats fled France. Others lost their fortunes. Thousands of skilled cooks suddenly found themselves unemployed. Rather than abandon their craft, many opened restaurants. For the first time, ordinary citizens could purchase meals prepared by chefs once reserved for royalty. Restaurants multiplied across Paris. Printed menus appeared. Customers chose dishes. Professional service became available to anyone who could afford it. Dining was no longer confined to palaces. It became public, and this single historical moment forever changed how people eat. The House of Tudor followed the French influences in England, from a practical necessity into a grand display of wealth, politics, and power. During the reigns of monarchs such as Henry VII, Henry VIII, Edward VI, Mary I, and Elizabeth I, roughly from the 15th to the 17th century, royal banquets became elaborate spectacles designed to impress foreign ambassadors, reward loyal nobles, and reinforce the monarch's authority. One of the greatest influence on Tudor dining was increased contact with Renaissance Europe. Italian and French culinary ideas introduced more sophisticated table service, decorative food presentations, and greater attention to balance and aesthetics. Wealthy households began employing specialized cooks, pastry chefs, confectioners, and carvers, each responsible for a particular aspect of the meal. The influence of Tudors extended well beyond their reign. The emphasis on professional kitchens, specialized culinary staff, elaborate banquet services, decorative presentation, and dining etiquette helped shape the foundations of English fine dining. Many traditions associated with formal banquets, including multiple courses, ceremonial service, and artistic food presentation, continued to evolve through the Stuart period and later influenced modern Western old cuisine. Every modern meal carries echoes of Roman banquets, medieval etiquette, Renaissance artistry, French royal ceremony, and English structured service. The next time you sit down at a beautifully set table, pause for a moment. The fork in your hand represents centuries of cultural change. The order of your meal reflects traditions shaped by royalty and master chefs. The restaurant itself exists because history transformed private luxury into a public experience. Refined dining was never invented overnight. It evolved over thousands of years, one custom, one innovation, and one generation at a time. From Roman emperors reclining at lavish banquets to modern chefs serving tasting menus that resemble edible works of art, humanity has continually transformed eating into something that is far greater than survival. Because in the end, the story of refined dining isn't just about food, it's about civilization itself. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please leave a comment below. This is Chef Jason, and remember, love is the secret ingredient.